told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark.
Welcome to You Matter in Business with Ariel Faith, your brand, your story, and your success, because you matter in your business. Welcome to You Matter in Business. We're following our theme from last week, and we're keeping it light because January can be really heavy after the holidays. So I'm going to start with a pop quiz. So how many people did you disappoint this week? 1, 2, 0? Well, if you didn't disappoint somebody, you're probably not living your life. You're living somebody else's expectations of your life. Welcome to what might be the most freeing episode we've done so far. The grateful art of disappointing people. And yes, I said graceful. You can be grateful too, but it's graceful because we're not talking about being a jerk. We're talking about the incredibly necessary skill of letting people down gently while still doing what is right for you. This is especially timely because we're heading into the season where there's so much disappointment. It's actually, we're right after that season. But still, we have, the holidays, we had family gatherings, we had end of the year everything. And people didn't get what they want. There were so many disappointments. Although there were plenty of blessings, what did people focus on? Your business will never thrive if you're running it based on not disappointing anyone. You'll end up working to live instead of living to work. So let's have some fun with this one too. We'll get serious next week. But let's talk about disappointment. Like it's not the worst thing in the world. Because spoiler alert, it's really not. Let's start with a fun exercise. Let's build your disappointment resume. All the people you've let down by making choices that were right for you. I'll go first with some highlights from mine. Let's see. I disappointed my family when I chose photography over a stable career. I disappointed clients when I raised my prices. I disappointed my past self when I admitted some of my early business decisions were wrong. And, I still make mistakes. I disappoint people who expected me to work weekends because I chose to live my life, not just work through it. I disappointed the hustle culture when I decided rest wasn't lazy. But it's wild. Every single one of those disappointments led to something better. Better boundaries, better clients, better business, better life. Now you try it. What's on your disappointment resume? Who have you let down by choosing yourself? Not in a selfish way, but just making a decision that you knew was aligned to your heart. By using what you know was right as data and making intentional decisions that didn't match their expectations. Here's the fun part. The resume is actually a list of moments when you chose your own path. When you decided your values matter more than their discomfort. That's not shame. That is intentional living. It's okay to disappoint people who expected you to stay small so they could feel comfortable. Okay, let's play. So what is your disappointment style? See if you recognize yourself. Okay, so there are a few that I identified. There's the over-explainer. And I know you guys will either know one or you might even be one, but you can't just say no. You need to provide 17 reasons, a detailed explanation, and possibly a flow chart to go along with your no, hoping if you explained enough, they wouldn't be disappointed. Spoiler alert, they still will be. And now you're exhausted. Okay, here's another kind of style, disappointment style, the slow fade. You don't actually disappoint people directly. You just become mysteriously unavailable. Texts go unanswered. Calls go to voicemail. You hope you're just... They forget they asked. They won't. And then the guilt spiral. You say no, but you feel so bad about it that you end up saying yes anyway. And then you punish yourself for days. Congratulations. Now everyone's unhappy, including you. And then there's the pre-apology. You start every boundary with, I'm so sorry, but like you're committing a crime for having needs. You're not. Having needs is allowed. Here's what I wish someone had told me earlier. You don't owe people an elaborate explanation for your decisions. That doesn't work for me is a complete sentence. I'm not available for that. Doesn't require a thesis defense. The graceful art isn't in avoiding disappointments. It's delivering it with kindness and then not carrying their reaction as your responsibility. Let me tell you about a moment I realized disappointing people wasn't actually the end of the world. I had a client request that would have been great money, but terrible for my values and my schedule. And my gut immediately said, this isn't right. Clear data.
Behind the lens, crafting tales and names.
Bring your marketing, your brand to life with storytelling and strategy. Cut through the noise with clear messaging and compelling visuals that resonate with your ideal client. We bring strategy, story, and visuals to help you with your marketing. Visit arieljoyfaith.com and schedule a consultation and see how we can help you bring your brand to
No
life.
selfies here, just genuine sight. Authenticity in every lie.
Remember, that gut is super smart. But my mind started negotiating, but it's really good money. I could use it. But what if she never refers anyone again? What if? Well, the old me would have ignored what I knew and say yes anyway. Resented every minute, delivered mediocre work while being miserable. I would try to deliver really great work, but because my heart wasn't in it and it wasn't aligned to me, it would be not as good as I could do. And I know that about myself. So the new me listened to that gut knowledge. It used it as data in my decision and said, it's not a fit for you. That's not how I work. That's not my business model. But I can recommend somebody who I think would be perfect for you. I was terrified. I thought she'd be angry, offended, never refer anyone again to me. But you know what happened? She thanked me for being honest and respected my boundaries. And then she referred someone who was a perfect fit. But even if she's been upset, even if she'd never spoken to me again, I still made the right decision. Because I used what I knew, what my gut told me, what my experience showed me, what my values demanded, and made an intentional decision. I chose my business boundaries over her expectations. I chose to build a business I could live in, not just work for. Here's the freedom I found. When you're willing to disappoint people, you get to actually live your own life. You get to build a business that serves you and not just everyone around you. You get to say yes to things that matter and no to things that don't. The people who truly matter, they understand. They might be disappointed, sure, but they will respect your choice. The people who can't handle your boundaries, they're not really in your corner anyway. It's okay to disappoint people who expect you to sacrifice yourself for their convenience. That is not selfish. That's choosing to live instead of working endlessly. So how do you actually do this gracefully? How do you disappoint people without being a jerk about it? So let's be clear, and we need to be clear and kind. I appreciate you thinking about me, but that's not something I'm taking on right now. No elaborate explanation needed. No over apologize. One, I'm sorry if you actually are, but don't grovel. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to have business hours where you are at work and not at work. Offer what you can do if you want, Well, I can do X. I can't do X, but I could do Y. Or I can't, but this person might be a great fit for you. See how you can deliver that no in a way that is much more graceful. Let their disappointment be theirs. You delivered your decision kindly. Your feelings about it are not you, their feelings are not your responsibility to manage. Don't negotiate with yourself once you've decided. Don't let guilt make you backtrack. Your first answer, that gut data, was probably the right one. How many times have we had that gut reaction and not listened to it and then kicked ourselves later because we didn't? So now is the time to start listening to that intuition, that gut, that piece of us that is subconscious, that is telling us something. It knows something. And it is worth our time to think about it and make just intentional decisions. Now, you might have to practice this. I've given this thought and I need to decline. Then stop talking. Resist the urge to fill in the silence with explanations and apologies. This is really hard for a lot of people. Silence makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but there's nothing wrong with silence. It's actually beautiful when you just stop and listen to it. The grace isn't in making them not disappointed. That's almost impossible. The grace is in being honest, kind, and firm all at once. The grace is in listening to what you know and making intentional decisions, even when those decisions disappoint someone who wanted you to choose differently. Next month, we're going to dive into some value-driven leadership, starting with what happens when your business becomes the work that you want to live for, not just the work to pay the bills. These last 2 months of the last two, the first 2 months of the year and this first quarter can really be powerful. We explore what it means to lead with our values while building something meaningful. It's going to be good. So here's what I want you to think about this week. Who are you afraid to disappoint? And what would become possible if you were willing to let them down gracefully? Maybe it's a client who expects you to work for less than you're worth. Maybe it's family members who think your business is a hobby. Maybe it's that voice in your own head that says you have to please everyone. You're allowed to disappoint people. You're allowed to choose yourself, choose your family, choose your God. You're allowed to make decisions that are right for you, even when other people don't understand them. The permission slip we worked on last week, you could actually add to that. I give myself permission to disappoint people who expected me to stay small, or whatever else that might fit for you personally. And remember, the most disappointing thing that you could do in your life is if you're living your life in someone else's version of life instead of building your own. The most disappointing thing is working to live instead of choosing to live fully. It's okay to let people down when staying in their good graces means letting yourself down. It's not okay to be the disappointment when the alternative is disappointing yourself. Listen to what your gut tells you. Listen to that intuition. Make decisions from there, even when those decisions might let somebody down. If you want a community of women who understand this, who support your boundaries instead of questioning them, who build businesses they can actually live in, the Real Women of Business WIB community is that place. Learn more at arielfaith.com. You matter in business. Your boundaries matter. Your choices matter, even the ones that disappoint people, especially those. And I will see you or hear you again next week. See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success, because I know that you matter in business. Thank you for listening to You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. I would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Storytelling Marketing and Your Brand Photographer. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and more information about this episode. Thank you again.
They told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark, lighting up the dark. Rediscover your own fire, chase the dreams that lift you higher. Redefine your role today, brand new in every way. Build your confidence through my lens, break the walls you put up since. Embrace your power, hear your roar. You are meant for so much more. You are meant for so much more.